So our next panel is panel number 4, the Seva panel. The theme is Evolving Nature of Seva in North America. And I'd like to introduce Jayant Daftadar as the coordinator of the session. Jayantji is a patron member and president of the Atlanta chapter of VHPA. He is the director of Support a Child, SAC, which is the flagship program of VHPA that works for the upliftment of underprivileged children in Bharat. I will now turn the spotlight over to you.
Dhanyawad. Namaste. Welcome to Seva panel. Our theme today is Evolving Nature of Seva in North America. Seva, selfless service, is a core principle of Hindu Dharma, the spirit behind Seva Paramo Dharma. Hindus world over are involved in Seva in the community they live. This panel discussion seeks to chart the journey and evolution of Seva initiative as a dharmic obligation. The panel, the volunteer team who worked for this panel consists of Veena Kardare from Atlanta, Nikhil Butch from Connecticut, and Lakshmi Jampaneo from Allentown. Moderator for this panel is Manikiran Ji. He is the founder and president of Cyphar, a fintech startup company. He is a strategic thought and execution leader in the intersection of business, technology, especially in the financial services industry, and has expertise in the digital strategy and transformation. He has extensive experience in consulting in various industries and intensive experience in strategy, architecture, and information management in investment management industry. Welcome to Maniji and his Seva panel.
Maniji, can you please unmute yourself?
Namaste. Thank you, Jayanji. So VHP of America's core values are rooted in Hindu Dharma. The mission statement of VHPA spells out Prachar, Seva, Samskar, and Sampark with equal amount of importance. So this forum focuses on the Seva part. Every faith-based organization in US has service as one of the major activities. Hindu organizations and Hindu temples have been doing extensive Seva in the US without much fanfare. Seva, selfless service, is a core principle of Hindu Dharma, the spirit behind Seva Paramo Dharma. Hindus world over are involved in Seva in the communities they live, helping in natural disasters and aiding the needy, homeless, and orphans. With the changing demographies of Hindu diaspora, the needs as well as strengths of the Hindu community have also changed. The Hindu diaspora has produced an economically strong community wherever they have put down their roots, empowering them to help the less fortunate in their Karma Bhumi and Punya Bhumi. While selfless service undertaken by Hindu organizations may not be known to many, they are done in the true spirit of the Hindu dharmic values. On the other hand, awareness about Hindu Dharma and Hindu communities' contribution through Seva is very important in the present socio-political environment. The brand Hindu Seva has not yet caught the attention of the media and the society, unlike, for example, Catholic charities. Hindu organizations have done a great Seva work in the past, many decades in the US, and we will acknowledge and honor them in the next year's conference. Going forward, the Seva done until now may need to be continued in the larger scale, or the Seva needed in the future may be very different. How to allocate resources for Seva between US and India, how to bring synergy between Seva organization, how to bring collaboration and cooperation, how to engage next generation Hindu. These are some of the areas we need to address urgently. So this discussion seeks to chart the journey and the evolution of Seva initiatives as a dharmic obligation. We have a wonderful set of panelists who have decades of experience in strategizing, planning, and successfully executing the projects. And audience can ask questions in the Q&A tab below, and their questions will be answered at the end of the session. So let's get started with the opening statement from each of the panelists. Now we welcome Dr. Srinathji.
Namaste. I'd like to make a short statement. Primarily, the seva done by Hindu Americans is disproportionate to the size, as much as we are earning, but we are not contributing as much relative to our population. Having said that, I think many of us are involved in direct seva, meaning we are giving a lot of time to, and we do that disproportionately. I used to be involved and continue to be involved in Seva International, and I used to have a responsibility. But as we saw, the amount of hours that Hindu Americans put towards volunteer work was disproportionate to what, on an average, an American does, which means that they were putting about 4 to 5 times as much time in volunteering. So that is also need to be counted. Whereas Hindu faith-based organization, many times the characteristic of an organization may be Hindu faith-based, their principles are, but they are not publicly identified as such. Okay, Seva International was one such organization. 11 years ago, 12 years ago, we decided we are going to be publicly Hindu. And that is something that we all have to be proud of, and we need to advertise. And the more we advertise as Hindu Americans, rather than a generic South Asians or Indian Americans, I think the better identity will come. And Maniji talked about Catholic charities. Of course, that's quite disproportionate. Ours is only 3 million people, and Catholics are 65 million or 70 million in this country. They've been around for long, but we could make a significant difference in the way, not only that we contribute here in America, our adopted land, our Karma Bhumi, as Maniji said, and also to our Punya Bhumi, both of which are our responsibility. And we try to do this in multiple ways, especially in Seva International. We were at the forefront of doing work among Indian Americans in COVID, not only to our own community, but for the outside community, outside of our community in general, because we do have a responsibility for the society where we are living in, whether it is towards Hispanic Americans, or it is to Black Americans, or to the general population. So it is very important that Hindus contribute to that. And of course, one of the things that Hindus or Dharma says that you are doing this service selflessly. Okay, we do not have an agenda. Okay, we really need to focus on that, because that is what drives us all through. Okay, so whereas the other faiths are more focused on, they have an agenda, be it proselytization or some other thing. Whereas we are doing it for ourselves. We are doing a selfless service for ourselves. We should not expecting anything in return. That's what I think is the beauty of the Hindu Dharma. Namaskar. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you, Sriji. Dr. Srinath Ji is a tenured professor for Electrical and Computer and Systems Engineering at Case Western Reserve University. Srinath Ji is also the founder president of the new Vivekananda Yoga University in Los Angeles. This is the first yoga university outside of India. And before that, he was the president of Seva International, and he has done outstanding work in that area. Next, I would like to introduce Renuji Gupta. She owns and manages a family-owned franchise business in Detroit, which employs more than 90 employees. She has served on the board of Ekal Vidyalaya and was the first woman chairperson of the Ekal board. She has been actively involved in VHP of America for the last 35 years and is currently serving as vice president of the Support a Child project. In addition, Renuji is also a writer with 8 published books of poetry, stories, and fiction. 2 more are in the press. Renuji, your opening statement.
Namaskar, my friends. Good to see many familiar faces here. As you know, I'm a lifelong volunteer of VHPA. So after completing my tenure at Ekal, I decided to work for Support a Child SSC. SSC is a project of VHPA established in 1985, but for some reason the project went to the shelves. So in 2015, we were supporting 900 children. Now in 2019, we have supported 3,064 children. And our goal this year is 3,500 children. These children are being supported from 75 hostels in 20 states. So from first grade to 12th grade, these students study in the schools and they stay in the hostels all over Bharat. So we have been listening this Seva Parmo Dharma, right? Seva is the supreme dharma of a person. But sometimes I call Seva as a junoon, is a craziness, pagalpan, because a divangi, okay? But Seva is a passion, Seva is a bhav. Okay, please think for a minute, when you can spend your time with your family, watching TV, enjoying vacation, maybe with grandkids, acquiring more wealth, what drives you to really in Seva work? So, well, answer is hidden in the sutra itself. Seva is the ultimate dharma of a person. So after finishing our dharma towards us, towards our family, towards our business or extended family, now the time has come in our life to extend our time and devotion to the seva, the society. Everyone has a source of inspiration. Sometimes you have a great saints, sometimes you have a family member from your family. So my source of inspiration has been my grandfather Dadaji, and I have been watching him. He served all his life without any lust and greed to the society. At the same time, he was taking care of the family and his profession. I have visited more than 25 hostels in 10 states in the last 5 years. And these children where they stay are not really hostels, they're ashram. When I meet these children and see a spark in their eyes or a smile on their face, or when I meet a dedicated worker or a teacher, that gives me supreme satisfaction and inspiration. So that is my really true source working in this project. I see Seva in two parts, Seva in America, our Karma Bhumi, and Seva in Bharat, our Punya Bhumi. And we really have responsibility for both. This few word of caution for all of us. When we are very successful in our Seva project, we get very egoistic or we get very attached to the project. That we have to be really careful about. Or on the other hand, when we are having difficulties on being successful, it can be extremely frustrating experience. So how we can overcome? Our spiritual elevation, our spiritual journey, or teachings of Bhagavad Gita can help us. Remember, we are not the doer, we are just the nimit. Thank you. Namaskar.
Thank you, Renuji. Next, I would like to introduce Suresh Iyer. Suresh Iyer is a versatile entrepreneur and seasoned process consultant in the aerospace and heavy manufacturing industries. He has founded or co-founded software companies with a vision to make the entities best of class in its vertical. Currently, Sureshji is serving as the president of Ekal Foundation, which supports 100,000 small schools in remote areas of India. Sureshji?
Namaste everyone. Ekal Pranam to all the delegates attending Reflection 50. Thank you, Maniji, for the introduction. It's a privilege and honor to be part of this distinguished panel. I want to thank the organizers for putting this together. It's a great event, looks like. I've been with Ekal for more than 15 years, initially started as a leader, but when I visited one of the schools, that completely transformed me. Just when you look at these children, their beautiful smile, just like Renuji mentioned, just melts you and you want to do more. So that's my intro to Ekal, and I have been taking on gradually increasing responsibilities since then. For those of you who may not be familiar with Ekal, Ekal Vidyalaya is one of the largest nonprofit organizations with an exclusive focus on rural education and improving literacy levels. So starting with one school in 1989 in one of the remotest corners in Jharkhand state, as of last December 2019, we reached our first milestone of reaching 100,000 schools, 100,000 villages. Each school teaches about 25 to 30 children, so that roughly translates to about almost 3 million children that we are able to educate every year. Thanks for our donors. Basically, I think their support helps us continue this journey. And half of these kids of this 3 million is, so that is even more important for us. ACL's mission is really a holistic development of the village through empowerment of the tribal and rural communities. We do that through the five-fold intervention methods that we follow called Panchamukhi Siksha. So the primary education is our entry into these villages where children between the ages 5 to 10, most essential requirement is education during their formative years. We provide that. The second intervention we provide is for the youth aged between 12 to 20, especially providing them skills and vocational training, employable skills, such as for women, we provide tailoring training, and for boys, we provide digital literacy, computer lab, vocational training, with which they get employable skills, so that most importantly, we want them to stay in the village and reduce this urban migration. The third intervention is health education, which is mostly telemedicine, primarily focusing on preventive screening as well as diagnostics. And we use our Arogya Sevikas for that, mainly through telemedicine process. And the fourth intervention is mainly for the farmers, where we provide development education and teach them methods by which they can increase crop productivity. And most importantly, we connect them directly with the end consumers through a B2B that we have established called Gramotan Resource Center. Thereby, their revenue potential increases significantly. At the same time, they are not purely dependent on monsoon. So we also teach them organic farming. And the last intervention we call is Samskar, which is very critical, because you can get the 4, but not Samskar, it doesn't really help. We teach them alcohol and drug de-addiction, basically from the village perspective. So we bundle all these things together, thereby the village becomes self-sufficient. Economically, they improve their living standards, and we want them to be self-sustaining. So our real goal is Shikshit Gaon, Swasth Gaon, Samarth Gaon, and most importantly, Atmanirbhar Gaon. Thank you.
Thank you, Sureshji. The final panelist is Hardik Bhatt. He is a BAPS volunteer. He coordinates BAPS's North American community outreach activities. He also supports Pujya Swamiji's in BAPS's satsang activities in South American countries, such as Brazil, Chile, and Guyana. Professionally, Hardik leads digital government and transportation business for Amazon Web Services, state and local government customers. He has been a chief information officer twice in his career for the state of Illinois and for the city of Chicago. He's a board member of Fermi National Labs. Hardikji?
Thank you very much, Moniji, and thank you very much, Vishwa Hindu Parishad, for this great, first of all, the great event. Amazing, I've been watching it since morning, and congratulations on putting together a great virtual event. Congratulations on 50 years, and also Sureshji, as I was hearing your remarks, congratulations on reaching the milestone of teaching 3 million children. It's amazing that the work that you're doing through Ekal Vidyalaya. It's an honor and privilege to be on a panel with these esteemed panelists, along with Renuji as well as Sriji. BAPS stands for the Bochasanvasi Akshar Purushottam Swaminarayan Sanstha. It is a Hindu spiritual organization, and we believe seva or service is an important part of a person's life journey. And the BAPS Charities is an international, non-religious charitable organization that originated from BAPS with a focus on serving society. BAPS philosophy is, in the joy of others lies our own. Pramukh Swami Maharaj, who was known for this quote, and he inspired a worldwide social and spiritual movement with these words. Leading Pramukh Swami Maharaj's legacy forward, our guru, current guru, Mahant Swami Maharaj, upholds these same principles. And what he teaches is that the goal of life is not just to tolerate each other, but to try to help each other. He says that we must not progress at the cost of others, but sacrifice a part of ourselves for the good of others. And that extends from our spiritual belief to our charities work across hundreds of activities under the BAPS Charities umbrella. Now, many would ask, how can you mix spiritual and service? And to that, Pramukh Swami Maharaj always used to say, how can you separate the two? And we heard that both from, actually from all the panelists, that sanskar, spirituality, is very important for when it comes to seva. For over a decade, BAPS Charities has been engaging in a wide array of charitable activities and projects in the United States, while also supporting charitable projects around the world. It is through these activities and projects that our thousands of our volunteers in centers across the US and the world are living the spirit of service. Similar to how Suresh ji said, BAPS charities work across 5 key pillars or key areas: health awareness, educational services, humanitarian relief, environmental protection and preservation, and community empowerment. And I'll talk a little bit more about as we get into Q&A about each of these things. But our aim is to express a spirit of selfless service, from walkathons that raise funds for local communities to supporting humanitarian relief in times of urgent need like what we are going through right now, or from community health fairs to sustaining hospitals and schools in developing countries. BAPS Charities provides an opportunity for individuals wishing to serve locally and globally. And when an individual is motivated by the spirit of service, that person sacrifices for the greater good for the community and the world. We believe that the power to build better communities lies in the hands of the very members of those communities. I'm looking forward to the conversation. Thank you very much for the invitation and being on the panel.
Excellent. Thank you, Adik ji. So let us start the discussion. I'm going to go to Dr. Srinath ji. I go to Google, I search for Christian charities. I get 67 million hits or results. Catholic charity has got 57 million results. Then I type Hindu Seva, it is 7.6 million. It is worldwide results, not just US. There is a brand called Christian Charities or Catholic Charities. And there is also a brand called Hindu Seva, but that is only among Hindu community who are very active in Seva. So my broad question is, every faith organization has got charity arm. Is their charity similar to our Hindu Seva? How is it different? You answered this partly in your opening statement, but can you elaborate on this? And how can we improve our brand?
The question is of how well you market. There is also that aspect. The aspect of how much we do versus how much we market should also be considered. For instance, if you are, when you are talking about worldwide, of course, majority of us are in Bharat. So if you're taking Bharat, in Bharat, people don't publicize what they are doing. For instance, even when I was little, we used to have students who would come for food every Thursday. Okay, Thursday was our day. 20, 30 students used to come to our home and we would feed them because these are from the villages and they are studying in the city. Okay, we don't publicize that. That is not counted. Okay, there is no organized way in which, and also there is no, unlike, for example, Catholics, okay, you do have one book, one person, you have a hierarchy. Okay, we do not have that. We are kind of, we are free birds. We, in a single house, you could have a Nastika, you can have a Devi worshipper, you can have somebody else with very different views. And our charities are also like that. Certain charities that we do not count them as charities. It becomes part of our lifestyle. And that is one reason why it is not formally recognized, in my opinion. It is not that we are any less charitable. When we give time, those of us in the US, like I said, I showed you that we give time. The IRS says for every hour of volunteer work, the equivalent is $24.63. Okay, that is how the IRS counts that. So when you multiply that, yes, suddenly we see that we are giving a lot of money in terms of our equivalent. So it is my belief that yes, we can do more. Yes, we can give more money. We are, after all, the largest earners in this country as an ethnic group. But most of us came to this country. We were lower middle class or middle class, and we were just acquiring wealth just now. We still do not know how to give it back. And our children will be giving back a lot more because they have been born into much better wealth. So this is I feel that is the reason why we are not showing up in the statistics when who gives more and why we are not giving disproportionately.
Yeah, but is the brand Hindu Seva important in US? If Seva is selfless and unconditional, should we promote it? And what is the importance of getting it promoted?
Promotion and effectiveness, there are certain, for example, most of the people, most of us, okay, Indian Americans who have grown up in the urban side, we are very socialist minded when we came here because that's how we were brainwashed. And coming here, we did not know, for instance, that this is a very religious country. When you look at the non-profit laws in this country, they are based on religion. Okay, the government does not work in the social service field. They give out grants, and most of the grants go to faith-based organizations. We have not realized that. We give so much in taxes, and we never ask the government to give us some so that we can do more charity. That is something we need to get into the establishment. We need to learn as a group. We need to learn, and this has been one of my pet peeves, that as Hindus, we need to bond together, brand together, and together we need to see what is the way we can get our share of these funds, which are social funds, and that we can use it to do more charity. Okay, and there are strategies in which we should all, if we get together, there is a lot of work we can do. A great example is how the Jewish people work. They are also very small. They are maybe twice our size, or maybe more than 2/3 our size, but still they are a force, and we will become too. 100 years ago, Jewish people were known to be very poor, and they were not counted. They are considered thieves, and all kinds of stuff. Okay, when they came in, especially in Manhattan. But today, you look at it, and then what are the things that the Jewish people control? And they are our ideal. We can really learn from that. They are able to find what are the ways in which we can brand ourselves, do things better. But the most important thing is we need to band it together, to brand together.
Very good. So I will come back to you about this government-related question a little later on. Now to Renuji, you have been doing Seva, leading Seva programs in US as well as in India. So based on your experience, what is most needed in US to do the Seva activity, some of the areas? What is most needed in the future? Is it changing?
I think it was a good question. Let's talk about here, because we all have been passionate about Bharat and we are serving there. Here, what I see is the three categories I see it really. Seva in Bharat is the one. Seva in American community is the one. But I see a gray area between Seva within Hindu community. I see a great need of that. The cases of domestic violence are increasing, untimely death in the family, job loss, or some identity crisis, problem with the kids, problem with the elderly. So there's a huge area that we really have to take care, and we are taking care to some extent, but publicizing it and making it more organized is really a need. As far as the second generation concerns, they'll be focused more here. Still, they may give some money to Bharat. I agree with that. But their area will be really Hindu American community or also Hindu American community.
Very good, very good. Okay. So in terms of Seva outside US, I would like to ask Sureshji. So we've been doing all kinds of Seva in India, either like a Ekal or Support a Child Foundation schools, or during disasters we send money. But is it the right way of doing it? If this is the right way, India is growing. India is a vast geography. So what do you think is most needed now? And how is it changing? What do you have to do in the future? You are on mute.
Maniji, it's a great question. So let me briefly answer this from Ekal's perspective. So if you really look at India, then 600,000 villages are considered rural villages. Of that, about 130,000 of them, which is, I would say, maybe one third or slightly more than that, is considered remote. Remote meaning they absolutely lack infrastructure. There are no schools, or even if there are schools, it's non-functioning. So from our perspective, almost 50% of India lives in this rural remote villages. So if government help can go only so far, everything cannot be done by government. So there has to be some responsibility, social responsibility, societal responsibility that we need to show. So ACL took this mission mainly to bring up these underdeveloped, underprivileged children, because even if the children in these villages want education, there is no way for them to get. They have to walk 3 miles when they are tender age of 5 in order to get that education. That's not fair. Swami Vivekananda said, this cannot go to the, if the child cannot go to the school, school should go to the child. This is exactly what we are trying to do. Why we are doing is twofold. Obviously, we start local, but with a global aim. These children, that is a significant population that is up and coming. If we provide them the right tools, we can solve all the ill wills of the society, whether it is alcohol, addiction, whatever you call. Now they have power to think. They can decide on their own. Whereas today, not having that knowledge, they are not able to distinguish between what is good and what is bad. They basically go by what others tell them. So when we talk about conversions and those kind of things, we need to empower these children with knowledge where they can decide what is the right thing to do. So they will be on the right path. So that's our first goal. Second thing is, if you really look at youth population, by 2025, India will be the youngest country in the world. 65% of our population will be under 35, which means that could be an asset if all these youth are well trained, provided with proper skill sets with which they can handle not only local challenges, but global challenges. That's exactly what we are trying to do. Provide them the tools in the form of skills. Now, I would not be surprised that a youth from Jharkhand village may be support for GE. It is possible, and we have to make that possible. So I think that's the reason why we are doing what we are doing.
Very good. So, Hardik ji, to take a pause here, all of you have been doing a lot of seva. During the COVID-19 pandemic, many of the activities have a lot of hurdles to do. At the same time, there are a lot of new opportunity to do seva. And BAPS is throughout 2 years, you have chapters. Around the world, you have chapters. So what do you do during COVID? Do you change course? Do you pivot? Is it more seva now? Can you throw some light on this?
That's a great question, Maniji. So I think, again, it goes back to one of the categories that BAPS Charities focuses on. I said before 5 categories. One of those key things is be there whenever the community needs our help, which is humanitarian, just stepping up whenever there is an urgent need of the hour that happens. And COVID-19, you know, we all are going through that right now, is one of those instances in the mankind that, you know, we need support, we need help, community needs help, community needs support. And fortunately, BAPS Charities and BAPS is active across the globe in multiple countries, in the US, in the UK, India, Kenya, Tanzania, New Zealand. I mean, it's multiple countries across the globe. And through this global network, we were ready and we just jumped in to serve every community throughout the globe. And basically, even in this times of COVID, you know, we focused on shortages of food and supplies, and we tried to make sure that people are delivered the care packages and the meals. We also looked at there was a huge shortage of the personal protective equipment, PPE as they call it. And we also worked across the healthcare community to provide those across the globe. There was also disruptions to education, and protecting the elderly was one of the things that we focused on. So there are big numbers. I mean, in India itself, we provided over 600,000 meals, over 8 million food and care packages. Same thing, same big numbers in the US. But still, you know, in the end, it comes back to what our volunteers, they're always there to help. And as Sriji was talking about, government also acknowledges all the work. But when we speak to our volunteers, what really touched them, they will tell us an incident. Like, for example, we have a volunteer in Houston, Chandresh Patel. He works in the medical field. And for him, the biggest seva that he thinks he did was one of his colleagues' wife passed away suddenly after giving birth to their baby boy. And he took care of that family through that crisis until their family from Philippines came in and provided them help. So I think absolutely we need to step up as an organization, but also as individual volunteers, we also need to step up. and make sure that we are there to serve who needs our service.
Very good, very good. So you mentioned that government also recognizes. I've seen the local government recognizes sending a letter of acknowledgement and thanks to a lot of organizations. Sriji, I have a question for you on this one. You also mentioned about we contribute economically a lot to the country, but we are not able to leverage so far for our own seva. We don't need any help from, we're not asking for any help from government agencies, but when they provide funds for say, service activity, do they fund Hindu seva activities proportionately to our contribution or our population? So what are the problems? Are we not aware of how to get it? Is there any hurdle in getting the funding from federal, state, and local agencies?
It's an excellent point. It is one of my pet peeves also. It is that we as Hindus and Hindu organizations, we have not understood the way the government doles out money in this country. We simply have not plugged into that. It takes time, it takes effort, it takes professionalism to go after these monies. It does not matter whether you are there is a common misconception that, oh, we do not want government money. Yes, perhaps because it comes with strings attached. Unfortunately, it doesn't come with strings attached in this country, very little if at all. Okay, because the government thinks that it really, if you look at the overall picture in the United States, they is very socialist in the sense of trying to help the poorest of the poor. There is a lot of funds available for these things. They need people like us to be able to take these funds and deliver the right services, because the government does not want to get involved in delivering services. They are willing to give the money. We have not been able to tap into it because we do not know how. I am going to make this as a blanket statement because we have not invested time into this. See, I live all my life using soft money as a professor. Okay, this is literally asking the king, which is the government, mostly federal government, asking for money for my research, and that is soft money. Okay, this we have not figured out. As organizations, we do not know how to do it. For example, FEMA has millions and millions of dollars available. And the way in which we have spent as Hindu American organizations, in which we have gotten very little pieces, slivers, and we have how much we have delivered disproportionately. Give you an example. In Hurricane Harvey, we got about $300,000 from the city government in Houston. And we were able to deliver 3 times what we promised. 3 times. Just imagine that. So instead of providing 600 families with the services, actually not 3 times, 4 times, 2,500 families we were able to provide. And the city government was shocked that we were able to do it. Why? Because we leveraged our volunteers, we went into the community, and then, we were able to get free stuff so that we can deliver it. These are the things that are our strength. With very little money, we can blow it up. We have not leveraged that. We need to understand how to get money from FEMA. There is a process. It takes you years, but you should get into that process, learn, hire professionals, invest some money initially, do it. Then you'll be able to do it.
Thank you. Thank you. So Renuji, I have a question for you from the other side. The current seva you are doing, Support a Child, most of the kids are in India. So when people sponsor kids from US, do you have any issue, other side, in the India bureaucratic side, receiving the money, sending you to the right schools? Is there any, between the states in India, do you have any issues? How do you tackle them?
Not really, but let me say one is, like America teaches professionalism to the passion in Bharat. Like if passion and professionalism can be together, it becomes a perfect team. So that's what really Bharat and America is. So things are pretty straightforward, and all the hostels are really done by the seva, not through the government. The very few hostels are supported by government. So I don't see much of the red tape because I'm not familiar with that. But all I see is there's a different way of working in Bharat, different way of working in America, and there is always a challenge No matter whether I was in Ekal, I could see that, or anybody who works with Bharat is a different game. But I trust people. There is not a problem at all for money. Money has been channelized very regularly with a very legal way, all the way from A point to B point. So that is not an issue. And reporting and all these things are a problem sometimes. But that's what America teaches. America teaches Bharat how to be professional. That's what is really the technology. Reporting system has to be better. You know, I've seen in Ekal for many, many years, and I think pretty much I'm implementing it here. But overall, things are fine. In India, people are really have a lot of dedication. They've been spending a lot of time and money and resources in doing the seva. We are just really a small fraction.
Yeah.
America is really, because if you see, right now 15,000 students are working or studying different hostels. We are supporting only 3,500. Same thing in any organization you take it. So major work is done in Bharat.
So, but probably 95% of the work is not an issue at all. But I've heard Marxist-minded government, think of Kerala, for example.
Oh yeah, Kerala. Take an example of Kerala.
Yeah.
Kerala is a big one. Our hostels are closed, left and right. Right now we have 19 orphanages and 6 hostels running. Because I'm working very closely with the Kerala team. And you know, like a government is looking for every reason. Okay, every reason, every point to really shut you down. Same thing in Northeast. Northeast is a challenge. We don't have any presence in Nagaland. We don't have any presence in Manipur. We have been trying. Okay, so in lot of states, just like any Hindus are minority, you know that. So the same way we are having the challenges, but government plays a big role sometimes in order to let you run your project. That's all we are looking for. Just let us run the project in peace. That's all we want. But Kerala is a good example. It's a very hot seat.
Yeah. I think all of us can learn from how you tackle that kind of government hurdles. Other seva organizations can get in touch with you to talk about it more. So, Sureshji, India is a vast geography again. You have more than 100,000 schools. So scaling up, you have done fantastically, right? I hope Support a Child project also will come to your level in 2 years.
We'll try.
So that means you have already tackled Kerala, Northeast, and other areas. Tell me the scaling part, which is very difficult because you need to scale in US as well as in India at the same time. How do you do it?
We are very fortunate. Let me say that very upfront. The strength of Ekal is its numbers. Obviously, 100,000 villages, 100,000 schools. Obviously, each school has one teacher, so 100,000 teachers. And we have about 400,000 volunteers just in India. And these are part-time volunteers, full-time volunteers, people who give time, people who are close to retirement, who have met their objectives. They are willingly contributing their time. They sign up. And as part of the Arogya Foundation that we started in supporting this, I think, 5-fold intervention that I talked about, we have been so blessed with so many physicians volunteering their time. Almost like we have an opportunity to do physicians on cloud, where the Arogya Sevikas actually go to these villages, do the basic screening using the tablet, get the data, vitals, and upload it to the cloud. And the physicians on the cloud, available in plenty, can quickly deliver. We have been able to at least contemplate what we want to do as far as last mile reach. Because what we hear from villagers when we go talk to them is, everybody comes, spends a lot of time with us, does a lot of study on us, but once they are gone, we don't hear the next from them, which is very true. This is all done for publications, grant writing, and all those things. And they print out beautiful charts, how bad the situation is, but nothing gets back to that last mile, that last villager standing in line as help. And Ekal exactly wants to address that. And the way we want to do that is, we have now built a platform. When we say 100,000 villages, we have a physical presence in each and every one of these villages. No other organization can claim that. Because you are on the ground, you pulse what is happening real time. Therefore, you are able to understand the requirements. Now, this platform of 100,000 villages that Ekal has, you can deliver any content. I'm just correlating this to a technology talk, right? You have hardware platform, if that is scalable on the cloud, you can deliver any content or software through that. It doesn't matter whether it is education content, whether it is health content, or whether it's a technology content related to farmers' productivity. It's all the same. And it reaches the masses. When we talk 100,000 villages, average population is about 800 to 900 per village. So we are talking about reaching and making an impact to 100 million people at once. And it took 30 years for us to get there, guaranteed. But we have done it in a way, in a very systematic way, taking baby steps, correcting whatever mistakes that happened, and going back and redoing it. So, but now we feel very confident that we have built a platform that is built for the long run. At the same time, we can partner with anyone, whether it be Akshay Patra, whether it is Support a Child, any organization that is complementing what we are doing, and we can deliver that service to the village. Ultimately, our goal is, like I said, Atmanirbhar Gaon. They should be self-sufficient where they can stand on their own legs.
Fantastic, fantastic. Hartikji, see, starting a Seva organization or even Seva project in a temple or a society is a difficult job, right? Individually, we can do Seva easily, whereas an organization, putting them together, strategizing, planning, prioritizing, executing is difficult. BAPS generally does a fantastic job, very systematically in a modern way. So instead of reinventing the wheel, if some other organization comes to you, we have been doing spiritual activity, we want to do Seva. Can we take your template? Can you give us, sort of a knowledge base instead of reinventing the wheel, instead of making mistakes, a lot of mistakes, avoiding them, to get started? That kind of collaboration, cooperation is going to be very important for Hindu organizations in the future. We may do that in the next year's conference too. So what do you think you can do from BAPS, kind of a knowledge transfer, training, template, those kind of activities?
Absolutely. No, Maniji, that's a great question. So no, I mean, obviously, what we have learned is from our gurus, Pramukh Swami Maharaj, Mohan Swami Maharaj, they have given their entire lives to Seva, to service. And we have learned from them how to give yourself to Seva totally. And actually in India, we have been working with the government of Gujarat for instituting what we call the IPDC, the Integrated Personality Development course that is introduced in the in Savani University in Surat. And it's going to go into multiple universities across Gujarat and hopefully India, where we teach how to be a better citizen, how to be a better servant, as in the volunteer, and how to be a better person. And there are 60 different courses that get taught through that IPDC syllabus. But you know, all it comes down to, Maniji, is how are we going to pass this to the next generation? Because frankly, we have the connection back to India, and we brought those sanskars with us. So we are easily kind of helping back and giving back to the society. But the children that are growing in this country, we do three things, and I'd like to state that out so that, it can be leveraged. One is we focus on giving sanskar at the young age. So learning how to give to others is a value that we nurture in our youth from a very young age. The second one we try to do is narrowing that generation gap. So we have different generations of karyakars or volunteers work closely with one another. Like a 30-year-old youth works very closely with a 50-year-old volunteer for a walkathon project, and so on and so forth. And the third thing is causes. Here the youth will look at what causes are you working for or volunteering at. Like, for example, for the last 4 years, we partnered with the Nature Conservancy, TNC, for planting trees. We planted over 300,000 trees over 3 to 4 years. And youth like that kind of environmental cause. This year, we partnered with Susan G. Komen Foundation, fighting against breast cancer. So again, those are the three things: sanskar, narrowing the generation gap, and pick the causes. And that is the way we try to transfer that to the next generation, so that seva continues from generation to the generation.
I think, Maniji, there are a couple of questions. If you have get a chance, look at the WhatsApp thing. Okay, thank you.
All right. So coming back to Sriji, probably is the last question before we ask any other audience question. We talked about the government-related funding, agency-related funding. There's also a lot of private foundation that they offer funding, even Google.org and those kind of organizations. And when an individual gives money and the local, the employer can match it. And sometimes they deny matching funds for Hindu organizations. Secondly, I've seen when there is a tsunami or some disaster in India, I would like to contribute to, let's say, some Seva Bharati organization. Suddenly the local employers say, contribute to this world charity or something, or designated charity organization, we will match 3 times. If you contribute to any other organization, we may not match. Isn't it like if there's a disaster in India, in organization based in India, they can reach the people better. So the employer should recognize that country-based organization. So how do we tackle that? Sometimes they ban the Hindu organization, sometimes we don't get the priority, sometimes we don't even ask for funding from the foundations.
Unfortunately, it needs to be tackled on a individual basis, meaning individually with the company. There's nothing overall you can do. Okay, that's one thing. Next is when a HR person or somebody denies an organization saying that, hey, that is a faith-based organization, we are not going to give. They are talking out of ignorance, and we need to be able to go and educate them. And one of the things that we did in Seva early on, maybe about 8-9 years ago, we got a rejection from Bloomberg. Okay, one of our volunteers contributed, and he expected it to be double, and it did not. And so I wrote a letter to the organization at that time describing there is a difference between a religious organization which is using this money for proselytization or something else, so religious service purposes, versus doing seva, doing service. So this distinction, once that letter was written, I have probably used it about 8-10 times. That's all over the last 8-10 years. And that has been good enough. Whenever that question comes, we just send out the letter and it is done. They accept it. So this is out of ignorance at an individual level, at the HR level, they do it. It is usually not the policy. And if it is, even when there are instances when the disaster happens in India or Mozambique or someplace like that, and we are involved, if that portion of the money that a company has dedicated towards disasters, they will give it. There is usually not a problem. It is that if they are designated it to Campfire in California or something like that, then of course you cannot ask for the same thing for something that happened in Iraq or wherever. So that is the difference. So we need to understand what the company's policies are, where that funds are being directed to, and we can leverage that. Almost all times we have had no problem at all. I don't even remember a rejection. Once we have approached them and educated them what we are, because we publicly used to say on our website, we are a Hindu faith-based organization. Okay, and most of the people in this country understand that faith-based organizations are a lot better than so-called secular organizations. This is the popular perception. Indians are ignorant of it. Okay, I'm sorry to say this. They're ignorant of it. They think that saying secular is a better thing in America. It is not. Saying religious, faith-based organization, rather faith-based organization, not religious, faith-based organization is a great thing in this country.
Thank you, Sriji. One last question anybody can answer along with your closing statement. I'm going to start with Hardik Bhatt and also say if there is anything, future challenges you would like to tackle. So closing statement, Hardik ji.
Oh, thank you very much, Maniji. No, I think we are going through the challenging times as we speak right now. So I think just getting this working together is critical. And again, Pramukh Swami always said, in the joy of others lies our own, and in the progress of others lies our own. So we have to have the same spirit of seva. I think the key thing I want to leave here is, people are the backbone of giving. People give people and can build connections and build relationships. And those relationships are important. And at the end of the day, what we learn and believe is it is not the getter, the person who gets, that's not the beneficiary. It is the giver, the person who gives, or the volunteers, that person is the beneficiary. So all of our volunteers, we learned that from our guru, and then we try to manifest that in our seva. Again, thank you very much. That was a great opportunity to share our thoughts and learn from you guys.
Thank you, Hariji. Sureshji, your closing statement.
Thanks, Maniji. Thanks, the audience, definitely. Actually, COVID might have had a lot of negatives, but I think what we noticed was a lot of positives also came out of it. Especially, we never even dreamt that we would have so many second generations participate, fully knowing that most of what ACL does is toward supporting causes in India, but the kids doing that DIY campaign, do-it-yourself campaign here, have been able to teach SAT classes, art classes, PSAT classes, Python, you name it. Since kids are sitting at home, they actually have come out of the woodworks in coming up with various activities through which they can directly participate. And ACL had provided them options. Where do you want these funds to go? Whether it be for digital literacy drive, whether it is for empowerment or women empowerment, environmental cleaning, all these things. So now they have an option to actually choose, which is really a passion that they have in their hearts. So they can connect their efforts to raise funds and at the same time fulfill their passion. I think, did anybody think about this in COVID? Probably not. But staying virtual, I think that has helped. Plus, initially when COVID hit, we thought that our fundraising activities would stop. We have been so successful with our virtual concerts, where artists from India are able to participate and actually do this live concerts, almost real-time concerts. So I think in a way, I would say a lot of things have happened positively. So going forward, we are very confident that whatever goals that we are setting will be achieved. Thank you for putting this forum. It's been phenomenal forum and very distinguished panelists that I was able to learn so much from. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Renuji, your closing statement.
Let's put an action plan. That's my closing remark. Time has come for Hindu unity. Same way, I want to make Seva word really iconic in USA. People should know service as a Seva. The Seva and Hindus are going hand in hand. So let's call a meeting next year and have all the Seva organizations come together, put a calendar together the event, how we can complement each other. There's a need of that, and how we can support each other. And same way than what Srinathji has been saying, let's push up the resources and try to get funds or different grants, which we have not really used it. So really time has come to really bring our work in front of the society. Thank you.
Thank you, Renuji. Sriji, last closing remarks.
Namaste. Thank you very much for the opportunity. Maniji, wonderful panelists, learning a lot here. I'll tell you my dream. Okay, as a closing statement, if that is okay, Maniji. My dream is that Hindus, we will all come together, our Hindu organizations come together, just like Renuji said, but I want to make it formal. We will have a headquarters in Washington, DC. There is a lot of action there. We will have branches in every state capital, and we will band together. We will focus all our money power that we want to distribute through one or two organizations. I will call it, this one, I'm going to name it as the Kubera Foundation. The Kubera Foundation will take the funds and it will have a distinguished set of panelists and a structure, no different from United Way, in which there is something that should be done equitably. On top of that, it will be a resource for every single organization that wants to get any kind of fund that is available publicly. They would come to this resource and say, we do not know how to do it. We are a small organization, but we have big dreams. We want, in this particular area, we want to get funds. What is possible? It is like the foundation center that you have in America. We want to have a Hindu foundation center. I call it the Kubera Foundation. I hope everybody can support this kind of idea and we'll all band together and do it. Dhanyavad, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Sriji. I love the Kubera Foundation idea so that we can serve a lot of Kuchelas. So your dream and the action item given by Renuji, let us take it up really a formal action item. Within next 1 year, probably a few months from now, we'll arrange another kind of a conference, if not in person, at least virtually, where 40 to 400 Hindu Seva organizations can come together, learn from one another. Like you have tons and tons of knowledge. I can have this session for next 6 hours. I have so many questions to ask. So why can't we have a separate conference on this? And one of us will take it and arrange it and share the knowledge and collaborate and cooperate. So we'll invite all the Seva organizations we know in the US. We are actually running out of time. Jayanji, do you have any audience question to ask?
There are a couple of questions that I have posted on WhatsApp. If you get a chance, take a look at it. But I think we are running out of time. I think our listening.
So thank you very much to the panelists. My sincere thanks. Fantastic. It's my privilege. It is a privilege for me to moderate this session. Thank you to VHP of America for giving me this opportunity. Thank you. This concludes this Seva Track session. Thank you, Sirkarji.